Morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Sam here, United People's TV. We got some new artwork on the wall. Martinez, he's come and got involved. I realised I don't actually put any of the merchandise on that. The merchandise I know has kind of gone a little bit quiet, but trust me, I'm working on something in the background. But good morning to everyone. It's Thursday. We've got Crystal Palace in 2 days' time. 2 days after we play Crystal Palace. The 3-0 win in the League Cup was probably one of the most overwhelmingly positive performances, team performances that we've seen. But everybody will obviously want United to do that in the Premier League. We won't really speak too much about the game. We're going to focus on a few talking points today. Antony has returned to Manchester and is going to undergo police questioning soon for the alleged accusations against him. And I'm going to run through the Telegraph's report on that. Landed in Manchester on Tuesday from Sao Paulo, and I'll run through that. We're going to speak about... There's some comments from Roy Keane and Jamie Carragher on the Jadon Sancho situation. You might say, oh, Sam, don't talk about it. You can't ignore it. You cannot not talk about the ongoing Sancho situation. I'll speak about that. We're going to speak about Hannibal and a new contract. We're going to speak about Sofia and Amrabat. Hui. Sorry, Martinez. My man crush might be switching. I'm joking. I would never do that to the butcher. But Amrabat, very positive start from him. Who's down here from the member gang on YouTube? Let's have a look. Good morning to you, Bully. We've got Brian Harlow, Saeed. We've got a hybrid Hunter. Daisy, good morning to you. DJ Dino. Hype. Andy, we've got Ewald, John McNulty, Chris Dyke, Mike, you're there. Stu, you're there. Josh, you're there. And you're there as well. T, good morning to you. Jonesy, Jonathan, Stephanie, Connor, Akil. Good morning to all of you and Porter as well. Who's on Facebook? Let's have a look. Mark Thompson, good morning to you. Siraj, David Peter, Nicho Gonzalez from Zambia. Wicked. How you doing, man? Stephen Bennett, watching from glorious Hampshire. Good morning to everybody. Should be a good show. You know what to do by now. Get involved. Send me your comments. What do you reckon about the new... I swear to God, Stan Chow is going to bankrupt me. How many have I got now? I think I've got about 20. I'm going to need a whole separate room. But big up Stan Chow. I like his artwork. I like what he does. So support Stan Chow if you can. You can get the prints on there. But look, can we talk about one of the strangest things? Manchester United having a home cup draw. Bam, bam, bam. I know. Bombshell. That's never happened before, apart from the last 11 consecutive times. Man United now have had 12 consecutive home cup draws. Now, somebody who's good at maths down there in the comments, you let me know what the odds are on that, because that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And we got Newcastle. So Newcastle last night, what did you think about the game? I watched like the last 25 minutes or so between Newcastle and City, and I thought Newcastle just had the better of them. Really, they were in a week where, well, a 2-week period where questions were going to be asked of Newcastle, because, you know, you play in the Champions League now, you've got good games 2 times a week. Will they be able to cope with it? They got a decent enough point away. It's more than a decent enough point. First Champions League game in 20 years, you get a point away at AC Milan, and then you go and do a record win against Sheffield United, 8-0, and then you go and beat City in the League Cup after making changes. Fair play to Newcastle. And they played well, and they deserved it. So City, toodle pip. I hope that City get their comeuppance this year. Really do. Hope they win absolutely sweet FA. I hope there's 115 reasons why they're crying in the corner. I'd say it's weird how that's sort of been brushed under the carpet, but not weird at the same time. A case of that scale and size and the amount of money that City have, they will fight it tooth and nail. They will drag this out for years. They really, really will. But City beaten by Newcastle last night. So obviously, Man United draw Newcastle. There was a cup final last time. This time, is it quarter final at this stage? Or is it round of 16? Is that not the same thing? Quarterfinals when there are 8 teams left. No, I think it's round of 16. Anyway, 4th round. Some people down there saying over 4,000 to 1, over 2,000 to 1. Sod knows what it was or what it is. But the odds are insane. All United fans want is a nice little cheeky away trip. Could have had Mansfield there. Could have maybe had... Were they Lincoln City? Are they still in? I don't know. Port Vale is still in. Could have been some nice away trips. Instead, it's another little knock on the door from Sam Keller here saying, Tickets, please. Or ticket money, please, anyway. Newcastle. It'll be a good game. So that means I think if you look at Manchester United's next 7 games, I was going to mention this later in the show, but I may as well mention it now. Brian, you're saying it's over 4,000 to 1. Anybody have that bet on? Anybody? That'll be a nice little earner. But look at the Man United's next 7 games. We've got 6 at home. 6 at home. Only away game that we've got there is Sheffield United, and Newcastle are just 1-8-0 there. So you've got to be confident. But again, a bit like Burnley, if Sheffield United have a sniff of staying up this year, they've got to win their home games. So it'll be their cup final, that. But look at Man United's next 7 games. Palace, Galatasaray and Brentford all at home before the international break. Then Sheffield United, Copenhagen, City and Newcastle all at home. Now, if you're looking at Man United's form away and at home under Erik ten Hag, they're 2 different teams. Brighton, the only team to have beaten us at home in the league under Erik ten Hag. Was it in the league? Was it? What was that? Was it Sociedad? With that stupid that penalty that banged off Martinez's knee that's when we ended up having to do the extra tie against Barcelona last season. But look, that's pretty good on paper. Man United having 6 out of our next 7 games at home should be a position where, look, we had a shaky start to the season. Let's be completely honest, and it was pretty bad actually. We've now got the opportunity to keep this run going. We really, really do. Crystal Palace coming up on Saturday. I won't be speaking too much about the game itself. I'm going to save that conversation for tomorrow. Okay, but today there's 2 main talking points that I want to speak about. There's a few talking points, but this is certainly the main talking point. And not really much has been said, rightly, about the Antony situation because there have been no updates that have been worthy of our focus and attention. Now, Antony has returned to Manchester from Sao Paulo. He obviously spent time there. He was sort of working, I believe, with the police in Brazil, giving them everything they needed, everything they wanted. I think he's been told now that you're not needed here anymore. So he's coming back to Manchester, where he will be questioned by Greater Manchester Police. What I'm going to do here is read through the article, and I can go up here first. And I think I've just seen it there. I did. Yeah, Nick. Mate, Nick, thank you so much, man. Nick and Jack. 2 heroes, just gifting 5 memberships each. Sigmund, you just got gifted a membership. Very cheeky. A mod getting gifted a membership. VAR on that one. Tony Kelleher, you've got 1. You're not related to Sam, are you? Maybe you are. Gary, good morning to you. El Runio del Santos. Sounds dangerous. Big up to all of you. 2 legends of the channel, gifting 5 memberships each. Woo. But we've got to speak about this, all right? Antony. Let me read through the article and then we can have a conversation and a discussion, right? It's from Jason Burt from The Telegraph. Antony has flown back to England and will meet Greater Manchester Police over the allegations of abuse that have been made against him. The Manchester United forward had returned to Brazil after being placed on a period of absence, having been accused of subjecting Gabriela Cavallin to a series of attacks. Antony boarded a flight from Sao Paulo on Tuesday and has arrived back in Manchester, but he will not be considered for selection until further noticed. Greater Manchester Police has received a 42-page legal document that includes 2 episodes of alleged abuse, which we already know. The incidents are said to have taken place in Manchester. There's not really too much down there. Antony was voluntarily interviewed by Brazilian police in June. Has not been arrested or charged. This is the next stage of the investigation. Antony will go and be questioned by Greater Manchester Police. That is why he is back in Manchester. And that's all that we need to know at this moment in time. He will not be playing for Manchester United. I can't imagine sort of any time soon. I've got no idea. Absolutely no idea. No one does. How long this investigation will go on for. But Man United, for the foreseeable future, will not be playing with Antony. But he is back in Manchester. And let's see what the developments are over the coming weeks or so. All right. Jack, you just sent a super chat there. What do you say, sir? Have some memberships from Sunny Salou. Port Ventura, mate, that really takes me back to being a kid. That was one of the only theme parks I've ever been to where I actually managed to get the fast pass. So I just went on Dragon Con and I did loops. Just kept running around. It was great. It had a massive loop. Everyone likes a theme park, right? Roller coasters anyway. I like roller coasters. I don't like theme parks. Hate waiting. Like roller coasters. Bit of a bad combination. Ines, you think that you could imagine seeing him play sooner than we think? We could. There is honestly 0 point speculating on that. Man United will let the investigation continue and go for as long as it needs to. And we have no idea how long that will be. I believe one of the women who came forward against Antony has withdrawn her case. There are still two, and there's the original Gabriella Cavallin. That's the main one. So let's see what goes on. And of course, the Manchester United's right-wing situation, it's not exactly good, is it? And Jadon Sancho, I suppose it depends if you put Jadon Sancho down as a right winger or not at Manchester United. But the Sancho situation rumbles on. And we've had our say as a community, and I find it really weird. I find it really, really weird how he just hasn't apologized. Honestly, I really do. Like, you can argue left, right, and centre about who was right and who was wrong. One fact that we know is that Jadon Sancho basically called his manager a liar in public, right? And he completely undermined his manager in public. A manager who has been fighting to maintain control at Manchester United. It's just, you're obviously going to have to apologise. And Jadon Sancho just straight up refuses to do it. And Roy Keane was speaking about it on was it the Overlap or was it the new, what was it, Stick to Football? I think it was on Stick to Football. And there are questions obviously still remain around Sancho's training. Erik ten Hag said he's not training properly. Sancho basically saying he is. And I'll be honest, that's not up to Sancho to decide whether he's training properly. I might think that I've had a fantastic day at work. But if my boss doesn't think that, then, well, I need to impress my boss. So Roy Keane here saying, look, the one thing I cannot forgive a player for is not training properly. And training sets the tone. I think I said this to you before. Training is supposed to be harder than the game of football at the weekend, right? It's supposed to be. It's supposed to make you, well, sometimes people do throw up. It's supposed to drive you that little bit further than a game will, because then when you play the game of football, you're ready for it. It almost seems a little bit easier because it might be. You can have that extra 5%, that extra 10, that extra 1% in the 85th minute of the game. It makes a big, big difference. Training is everything. It sets the tone. And this is what I said about about redeveloping Old Trafford. Okay. And people say that I know it's necessary, but I'm being deadly serious when I say I would want Manchester United to redevelop Carrington before we even consider redeveloping Old Trafford. Players spend 90% of their time as United players. So I don't know what percentage it is, but an overwhelming majority of their time is spent at Carrington. That's their home from homes. That's their office. Obviously, Old Trafford, and they play games at the weekend, sure. But training is where they spend their time. That's why I want our training facilities to be the absolute bee's knees. And they were back in the day at one point, but they're just not anymore. Roy Keane's had his say on it. I think Jamie Carragher sort of said the same thing as well. I don't know. Roy Keane said this too. Because I've been in dressing rooms, and this is the thing that's always confused me as well about Sancho not apologizing, because I completely agree with this point. Roy Keane saying, I've been in dressing rooms where guys have come in and said, sorry, lads, I've made a mistake. And it's quickly forgotten. If a player shows he cares about others and he is a human, everything is fine. We move on quickly. And this is the thing that's confused me the most about Sancho. Every single one of those United players would, come on in, Sancho, you come. Mate, it's fine. It's water under the bridge. Let's move on. If Sancho just apologized, it would get forgotten about. Erik ten Hag wouldn't forget about it. That would have to be a relationship that Sancho repairs himself over time through showing it in the training ground. All of this. None of the players would hold a grudge against Sancho. If he apologized, came in, nobody would say a thing. And I think that's the thing that's confusing me the most, because he would. All Sancho has to do is apologise. And he won't. And at this point, and we mentioned this in the podcast, by the way, which I forgot to say. Oh, how did I possibly forget that? Despicable behaviour by me, really. 1 second here. Yes, ladies and gents, I know it is Christmas because there is a new episode of the podcast. It's me. That's a Spotify link. I'm not sure if that's actually the best link to send. Let me show you this one. That's probably the better link. It's me, it's Alex, and it is Jake. We speak about everything. Oh, look, you can see my what's going on there. You're not looking at my musical playlist down there. Jeez, what's going on? Anyway, 2 wins in a row and Amrabat's superb debut. We speak about the Burnley game. We speak about the Palace game. All the talking points in between. All right. Robert, just apologize for not telling us about the podcast and we will move on. I'm really, really sorry, guys. I've made a mistake. I thought I was in the right, but I can see where my issues were, see what my problems are. But can we just sort of move on as a team and we can kick on now? And you'd be like, yeah, go on in, sweet. Right, great. Anyway, podcast, if you want to listen to it, go and have a listen to it. And even Jamie Carragher's sort of saying this. And this is the major thing here with Sancho from a Ten Hag perspective. He literally cannot allow Jadon Sancho back in the training ground, or everything he's done is undermined. Like, could you imagine? I can see the headlines. I can see what every single media outlet would do if Jadon Sancho turned up on the training pitch randomly next week. Nothing was really mentioned or said. Jadon Sancho was just randomly at training. They would slaughter Erik ten Hag. They would say, oh, Erik ten Hag has lost his power in the dressing room. He's now Jadon Sancho has won here. It shows that player power is still prevalent at Manchester United. And they would just pick apart. They would pick apart everything Erik ten Hag has done so far. And that is exactly why Erik ten Hag cannot, because that would probably happen inside the dressing room too. The players would be like, everything that Erik has done so far, and he's just let Jadon come back in without apologising. The players would start questioning it. It's why Erik ten Hag has to be firm, and I think he's correct in being firm as well. But yeah, Roy Keane's had his say on it. It's weird. It's odd. It seems like, I don't know. Is it a pride thing? Maybe. Is it stubbornness? Probably part of it. What are you saying down here in the comments? Could this be considered breach of contract? I don't think so. I mean, I suppose there's going to be parts of your contract that are to do with, yeah, I doubt it's breach of contract in that sense, but I kind of know what you're getting at. Anderson, I did see all the Germany news, and you've been saying this quite a while. There's more to it. Look, let's find out. And I've said there will be more to it. I'm waiting for Jadon Sancho to give an interview, to give his side of things. There will be more to it. We all know there's more to it. Everyone knows. We just don't know exactly what it is. But until he apologizes, which I don't know. If at this point he hasn't apologized, why would that change? I really don't understand how, when you're this far down the road, that Sancho would go, never mind, and he'd switch and he'd turn. I just find it weird. Right, let's talk about some more positive news. All right. We've spoken about the latest on Antony and Sancho, and truth be told, I don't know when either of them are going to kick a ball for Manchester United again. I just don't. But somebody who I do know will kick a ball for Manchester United again very soon is Hannibal. Now, Hannibal has a contract at Manchester United until 2024. So, until the summer. So, technically, in January, Hannibal can speak to clubs outside of England and agree a pre-contract agreement. Now, Fabrizio Romano is here confirming that Manchester United are planning to offer Hannibal a new contract, and talks are going to be opening soon. Now, Man United have got an option to extend that contract until 2025. So I imagine at some point in the next, I don't know, next 6 weeks or so, probably something like that, you'll just get an announcement that Manchester United have extended Hannibal's contract by that 1 year, that option to extend by another year. And then United will enter talks over a long-term deal. Now, Hannibal has just... when you're looking at, if you're looking at like polar opposite levels of sort of application, you're looking at Jadon Sancho and all the question marks around training and what he's doing on the pitch. And then you see what Hannibal has been doing. And this stat in particular sort of stands out and stood out. 12.9 kilometers. That's how much ground Hannibal covered in the game against Burnley, which is the most that any United player has covered in a single game in 4 years. That's what Hannibal did in that game. Now, hard graft is not the be-all and end-all of a successful football team. But I tell you what, you cannot be the top team in the world anymore without hard graft. It is a fundamental cornerstone. Without it, everything else will fail at certain points. And that's what Hannibal has done in these 2 games. And we can have a look here. Look, in terms of pressures per 90 minutes in the Premier League, look who the top 2 are. Hannibal and Højlund. Pressures, of course, mean that when the opposition is in possession, it's the drive by the player to put pressure on that person with the ball at his feet. Pressuring the opposition when they are in possession. And it's not only just the pressures that he's doing, it's the sprinting pressures. It's the speed of his pressure. So he's not just jogging over to someone. He's intensely running towards someone. Most in the league. Most pressures in the league and most sprinting pressures in the league. And he covered more ground than any other United player has in one single game since 2019. So Hannibal's setting the tone of what Ten Hag wants, which is why talks should be happening. Absolutely. And they deserve to be happening. I'm not saying that, by the way, that he should be getting a new deal straight away. That would be very peak United for something to happen in the short term and think, let's give him a long contract. And then go, wow, tell you what, man, we jumped in a bit early there, didn't we? I think Hannibal will deserve a long-term contract, but let's just see how he continues to develop, because he's done all the things that his manager has asked him to. There's a couple of super chats here. Let me read these out and then we'll have a little conversation about Hannibal. Nick, you're saying there is no way this will be the end of the saga. You're obviously speaking about Sancho. I feel an interview is coming after he leaves United. It feels to me he has some personal issues. I think there's quite a lot going on personally with Jadon Sancho. And we can't ask to be privy to someone's personal life. Key word there is personal. But when it affects your professional life, that's when you have a bit of a duty to... I don't know, a duty, is that the right word to describe it? If your personal life is affecting your professional life, you have to get help. You have to somehow navigate a way to resolving that problem. And if it isn't resolvable, then it affects your professional life. I mean, it's like when ages ago when I was going through whatever I was going through personally, a good few years ago, it reached a point where I was like, I can't hide it anymore, because it was massively affecting the output and the quality that I wouldn't have been able to do what we've been doing here every single morning, having these live shows. So then I told you at that point. I don't know about a resolution. I don't know whether a resolution is even going to happen. A couple of small super chats here. Ryan saying Sancho to Saudi in January, extend Ten Hag's contract past 2025, a new Sancho fee to buy Amrabat or a new Højlund. It always sounds so simple when you speak about transfers, doesn't it? You know, send him there. Do this there. Do that. Perfect. Easy. Never is as easy as that in reality. I think Manchester United will be letting Jadon Sancho go in January. I imagine we're going to have to pay for it as well. We're going to have to subsidize his contract. He's on like 300, 350 a week. He's on a lot. No one's going to pay that. We're going to have to subsidize part of it and hope that he does well, and then hope that we can sell him in the summer. And then we can go, well, that didn't work out. And we can add Sancho to the mounting pile of huge money transfers that have failed miserably at Manchester United. Miserably. Half Gaza, you're saying between Casemiro, the Butcher, and Hannibal, Man United get the most yellow cards this year. Hey, look, that's one thing I have to say about Hannibal. I know he got a yellow card. Was it early against Palace? And then there was a couple of like questionable, well, not questionable fouls, but he was still full tilt. If you ever watched Hannibal play for United's academy sides, he's a hothead. He always was a hothead. He was really like, you could never commit his attitude, never question or his commitment or attitude. But just so often, Hannibal just ended up doing silly things. Like people just knew how to sort of poke him, get a reaction, and he would get the reaction. The red card would come out. He seems to have, like, it's just like Rooney, man. Like Rooney's aggression was one of the most important aspects of his game. Like if you tried to tame Wayne Rooney, he wouldn't have been Wayne Rooney, right? So I'm not saying you got to tame Hannibal's aggression, because that is a fundamental part, but you have to be street smart, because if you let that aggression boil over and the opposition can then use it against you, then your aggression isn't a good thing. Your aggression is a bad thing that somebody else can use against you. But last couple of games, Hannibal was really, really done the job. And as I've shown here, with the pressures, with the fact that he covered more ground in a single game than any player in 4 years, and he's doing it at pace, he's setting the tempo. And I tell you what, is that the right picture? Jeez! This is a new. We are seeing what Ten Hag wanted to do at the bloody start of this season, right? He didn't sign Amrabat for him to have a back injury and for him to not be fit for like 8-9 games, all right? He wanted Amrabat in the first game of the season. Yeah, think about that, actually. Didn't even think about that. Onana, Hannibal, and Amrabat all probably going to be leaving in January for the African Cup of Nations. Oh, sticky. Well, let's just hope the other players come back through. But if you didn't see that video, I enjoyed doing that video yesterday. It was an analysis of Amrabat's full debut at left back against Crystal Palace and just the fundamentals of his game. The reason I was so excited before he came in, and the reason why I'm so excited now that I've seen his full debut, because he just delivered. That's what Amrabat did in that debut against Crystal Palace. There was nothing from that performance from Amrabat surprised me, but he delivered on everything you thought he could, from dropping in to receive the ball from Onana to dropping in between the two centre-backs and allowing Maguire and Varane to really spread and split wide, giving United such great options to pass out from the back, to his pressing, to his work rate, to his long passing, the diagonals. Everything that we expected him to do, he did. And did it really, really well. And having players like Amrabat in there now, having players like Hannibal in there, having players also, as you can see, like Højlund. Wrong one. Højlund. He's putting that pressure on from the front. And it's always confused me. It's really confused me how often people say Erik Ten Hag and his team, they don't have an identity yet. I don't know what they want to do. The only reason you don't know what they want to do is because you don't know Erik Ten Hag. It's not Ten Hag's fault that you don't understand his philosophy. All right? It's your fault for not having enough knowledge. I know exactly what Ten Hag's philosophy is. And the game against Crystal Palace was a bit of a sort of open the door, have a little peep in. There you go. Controlled possession. It doesn't have to be full tilt 24/7. Not when you got the ball. It's just we haven't seen enough of it this season. That's the issue. And that's why I did that video yesterday. Like, Amrabat is the missing link. He really, really is. I tell you what, that's what my short video is going to be on today. So make sure you check out TikTok and Instagram for that. I think Casemiro is going to... I called it the evolution of Casemiro. And I really, really do think that's what we're going to see this season now. I just think he feels like he's done his time as a defensive midfielder and he now wants to move forward. And Amrabat's going to be that guy behind him. Bakuda saying there's a few links we're missing. I'll tell you one player we are missing. What do you think about Martinez? Martinez so far this season, he still looks injured, doesn't he? Martinez isn't quite back to... Well, he's nowhere near his levels of last year. Like the aggression he had in the front foot, his line-breaking passes out from the back. Martinez just hasn't quite been Martinez this year. And I know it's a case of time. Absolutely. I'm not here saying, "Oh, Martinez, let's sell him." That's madness, right? Madness. But Martinez still isn't fit enough. Martinez still isn't. I don't know whether I'm guessing it's still to do with the injury, because it's just the Luke Shaw missing as well. That's not helping. But Martinez has lost that little bit of edge that you have when you have total confidence of your own body, total confidence of your own ankles, and that you can go in full tilt into a tackle. So like certain players, like Luke Shaw, for a good couple of years after he broke his leg, Luke Shaw wasn't ever able to fully commit to a tackle. And I can't remember when it was, but there was one particular game where Luke Shaw just went in full-blooded into a 50-50, won the ball, and Old Trafford went Old Trafford was like, yeah, there he is. He's back. And it was kind of from that moment on where Luke Shaw then started kicking onwards and upwards. But it took him a good while. It seems like Martinez doesn't quite have that confidence in his own body yet. Jonathan, you're trying to troll me, I think. I don't know. I thought Onana and Højlund were the missing links as well. They are. But you know what happens when you don't put all missing links together? You've still got a missing link. Have we seen a game where Onana, Amrabat, and Højlund all together have started a game together in the Premier League in their correct positions? No, we've not. We're still yet to see the team that Erik ten Hag had in his mind when he came into the start of this season. I've got absolutely no doubt in my mind that across the course of this season, that Man United are just going to get better and better, which isn't particularly hard considering how poorly we started the season. And look, everyone can have. You can all have your doubts. You can all try and troll me. I don't know why you're trolling me, Jonathan. You'll hear quite a lot of times. Why on earth would you try and troll me? I might just have to ignore your comments then for a little while. That's fine by me. Deshan, this competition between Martial and Højlund is looking very good. Hey, look, I'm not letting myself get sucked in by Martial just yet, but he has played really well in these last couple of games. But look, Amrabat, he's setting the tone. He will set the tone. He'll be an on-the-pitch example for what Erik ten Hag wants his team to do. You've now got players. He's got players that he can point towards. Bruno Fernandes was one of those players in terms of the application of Bruno Fernandes. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be interested to see what Man United's team is going to be on Saturday. I'm going to run. I might do my. I'm undecided. I might do my starting 11 today at lunchtime, or I might do it tomorrow. Unsure. Let me know in the comments. Should I do it today or tomorrow? You can leave it in the comments. Maybe I'll listen to. But Amrabat is a player that Ten Hag wanted, and Amrabat was desperate for us, and he's come in. And yes, I do think he's the missing link. And it's going to be nice to see. Man, you've got Mason Mount coming back from injury. You've got Luke Shaw, who's still out, of course. You've got Wan-Bissaka, who, as it stands, I mean, he wouldn't get in front of Dalot. Isn't it weird? Over these last, 18 months or so at Manchester United, you've just had ups and downs. Like Dalot was at the start of last season. Dalot looked amazing. And then the World Cup happened. And then after the World Cup, Wan-Bissaka blew us all away. And Wan-Bissaka completely dominated and became our right back of choice and surprised everybody. And then, was it towards the end of the season, it kind of dipped a little bit. And then Dalot came back in and he was quite good. And he went off to the preseason. You're thinking, I've got no idea who our first choice right back is. But I think it's Wan-Bissaka. I think it is. And then the season started and Wan-Bissaka was probably one of our best performers. And then Wan-Bissaka gets injured. And then Dalot comes back in. And he's just fantastic. And Dalot really looks like he's improving. going forward, he really looks like, and defensively as well, because going forward, he always had that about him. But defensively, he looks better now. It's weird. It's like the peaks and troughs of both right backs. Right, yeah, the competition at right back is good. It is healthy. I do question whether Erik ten Hag looks at Dalot or Wan-Bissaka and goes, that's my ideal right back. But I also think he knows that he has far, far bigger priorities in terms of changing the squad in other positions, that he's more than happy with Wan-Bissaka and Dalot as his two right back choices. And Dalot, I think more than, actually you can see it in that photo there, it's kind of a perfect example. Dalot is very good naturally, I think a little bit more naturally than Wan-Bissaka at the inverted fullback role. He's much better at tucking into midfield, which is what is now required of our two fullbacks. When one goes forward, the other one tucks in to become another centre-back. When the other one goes forward, the other one tucks in to be a centre-back. And they have to do different positions in possession and out of possession. Honestly, I think by some margin, it feels like the fullback position is the most difficult to do in modern-day football. Not only for the fitness you would need to bomb it up and down the wing, but also the tactical awareness to know that you're in one position when your team has got the ball, and you're in another position when your team hasn't got the ball. And you've got to make sure you don't get caught between those two things. I genuinely think it's the hardest position in modern football, because it's just developed so much. Like a centre-back is a centre-back. Centre-forward is a centre-forward. Fullbacks, don't know. Did I say Dalot's fantastic? I think he's certainly improved. Reguilon, I think, has come in and done quite well. I don't know whether he'll earn a full-term contract. If he does, then, well, Madisi's got to leave then. No, surely. Can't have three of them. No, Jerry. That is a bad idea. Amrabat, he is going to be our defensive midfielder, not our left back, but he can more than do a job at left back. Now, last couple of minutes of the show, ask me any questions you want, anything you think I haven't spoken about enough, you can speak about here. I'll say it one more time. Ladies and gents, if you want to listen to the podcast, please give a listen to the podcast. It's now on Spotify. It's on Apple. It's completely free. It makes a big difference as well. If you can listen to it and give a 5-star review on Spotify, or if you can, leave a 5-star review on Apple. It makes a big difference, man. It makes a huge, huge difference. And what I will say as well, down there in the comments, not comments, that right there, it is the 28th of September. Now, I have been working really, really hard to get the whole community migrated across from Telegram to the Discord. All right. The Discord on Saturday morning, it won't exist. The Discord is being completely, permanently deleted on the 30th of September. All right. So come the end of Saturday, it will not exist. So please, if you would, I'll leave the link down here one more time. Actually, no, I don't need to spam it. I just did it. It's also in the description on YouTube. And I think on Facebook as well. If you look at the video in the description, the link to the video, the link to the Discord is there. Please join. All right. Because if you don't, you won't. Whatever. I'm saying this, I'm saying that. Okay. Leave the Telegram. Join the Discord. The Telegram is getting closed down. All right. The Discord is where it's at. Apologies. I got all mixed up. All right. Anyway, thank you for tuning in today. I'll be here tomorrow morning, as always. Friday show, map day. It's going to be a good one. I'll be here at lunchtime today. I might save my Start 11 show for tomorrow, so we've got a little bit of team news. I'm undecided. We'll see. All right. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Nick. Thank you to Jack as well for gifting 5 memberships each. Legends. Look at that. Memory up there. What a man. Let's have a bit of Barry. Why not?
We're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway.
Yes, Barry. See you soon.